Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink with another card using large florals, as well as my Spectrum Noir TriBlend brush markers. So when I was flipping through my stamps and made the previous card with the beautiful flower stamp set, I flipped across this Mother's Day Tulips stamp set that I've used in a couple of previous videos last year, and I'll have links to those at the end of this video. And the stamp is huge. I did slimline cards with this, and the last card I made, I think it was like a 5x7 card, because again, the stamp is huge. So I was like, let's make an A2 size card this time. You know, why not? So I have an A2 sized panel of Simon's Smooth White Cardstock in my MISTI, so 4 1/4 by 5.5. And I'm inking up this stamp with Simon's Intense black ink. And you can see this thing takes up like the entire thing. I love it. Love it. So stamp that a couple times because this is a very solid line image. And then the coloring, super simple. I grabbed 3 TriBlend brush markers. I've got the light green blend, and then I'll use the hydrangea blend and the magenta blend. And that's it. So right now it's real-time coloring here, and I technically messed up this one little spot I'm coloring. I was like, oops, that was just supposed to be like the background, but meh, went with it. Honestly, doesn't matter. In the end, I end up covering it up, but not because of that. It honestly doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So again, simple coloring. I think that's what I'm loving the most about these markers is I legit don't have to think. Like, no matter what, still love my Copics. Not ever, like, people have been asking me that, and it's like, you will have to pry them from my cold dead fingers. Love my Copics. But this has just been a nice diversion for me. You know, it's like, oh, I just grab a couple markers. I've got, you know, multiple shades to play with all in one, and I can just go with it. So I'm enjoying it. And as I'm doing this voiceover, I think if I have a chance, I'll do up a little playlist and I'll keep adding to it of the videos I've done using these markers, and I'll have a link at the end of the video. And then, yeah, I'll keep adding to it as I post videos with them just to keep everything in place. Always check at the very end screen of my videos. I always link to, you know, other videos I've posted, other playlists I've done. I have a ton of playlists because, like, you know, all the themed ones, you know, Christmas and Valentine's, etc. Plus I've done up playlists of, you know, videos I've done using the same stamp set or videos I've done using a certain type of technique, etc. There's tons of them on my channel because I've been doing this for, I forget how many years now. I honestly forget. I don't know how long I've been on YouTube. It's been a long time. I posted hundreds, thousands of videos. So I do up these playlists to make life easier for everyone to find, you know, more inspiration, all that stuff. So after I did my coloring, which was just simple, I took Simon's SEAFOAM Positively Saturated ink, just very light ink, and I'm doing a light blend, going right over the coloring. It's fine. I wouldn't do this with like super dark colors, but this works. You know, it just adds a bit of color, and it's pale enough that I'm not worried about it sitting on top of all the coloring I did, etc. And it just adds that little extra something. So I just quickly blended that onto this panel with a blending brush. And then, of course, I'm going to add some sparkle. However, I'm going to be a little more light-handed with it. Shocker. I know. You can just like fill these in. They would look beautiful too, but I was like, you know, how about I add just like little hints of sparkle? I know, I lost my mind. I just kind of painted following along the lines, and you can't see it. I will show at the end with the flashlight because you literally can't. Like, I was even having a hard time seeing it. That's also why it's easier to just fill in an entire area, because then you don't have to think and like tilt it in the light and everything. But that's just what I kept doing. That's why you guys see me like lifting it up constantly, is tilting in the light to see where I've applied some of the sparkle. And it's like, is it even showing up? But I just went along, you know, kind of the lines on the tulip images, and then just added a little bit to the greenery, just subtle. And really the Aqua Shimmer pen's always subtle, even when you fill in large areas with it. It's just one of those things where you don't really notice it, and then you tilt it in the light and it's like, ooh, sparkle, pretty. Amy's inner magpie is appeased with this. So added my bit of shimmer. Then I'm going to, of course, add splatter. just because. So Gonzai Tombi Starry Colors, the gold color, my favorite. Got that activated, my little fan brush, my splat box, added some gold splatter, set that aside to dry. Once I'd set that aside to dry, I grabbed a piece of Simon's Dull Pink cardstock, and one of the sentiments from the set, it's the Happy Mother's Day sentiment, because this set is like geared towards Mother's Day, although I think the first cards I made using this, I just did like more generic sentiments with it, but I really liked this specific one, like the mix of fonts and whatnot. So I used my anti-static powder tool, stamped the sentiment with clear embossing ink, heat embossed it with Simon's gold embossing powder, and then once that was cooled off, I die cut that with a circle wafer die. The tulip panel I die cut with a rectangle wafer die, and then I pulled out some of Simon's matte gold cardstock. I die cut that with a slightly larger rectangle die, and then I removed the center of that gold cardstock with just a smaller rectangle. I'll have links to these wafer dies. They're waffle flower ones. I use them all the time. I just more often than not don't show them in videos. I just keep them beside my die cut machine with all my other like most used wafer dies. But anyway, I've shown this in a lot of videos, like cutting out the centers of like specialty cardstocks. You can do this with your regular cardstock too, especially if you don't have a lot of color cardstock, because you're not going to see it. You're only going to see that little matte layer. So why not cut out the center? Or like other times, like die cut sentiments from the center, etc. Like get some use out of it. Why not? So I will either die cut sentiments from it, or like I showed, I will just take a rectangle out of the center, stick it back in the package with everything else, and then I've got that to use next time. So I adhered that little frame underneath the card front, stuck it under my MISTI just for it to, lay flat while the glue dries. And then I took the inside of my card base, because this is going to be a top folding A2 white note card, lined that up inside my MISTI with this great big tulip image. And I used some Post-it tape across the score line so the stamp doesn't go past that. And I just inked up the stamp with that same SEAFOAM ink. So it just gives it those pretty tulips on the inside of the card. And then I just realigned the card base again, and I grabbed another sentiment from that stamp set, lined that up, and then I'm inking that up with the VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink. So get that stamped on the inside. And then fold my card closed, reinforce that fold with my Teflon bone folder, and then I can adhere my card front panel to the card base. And I'm just using craft tacky glue for all of this. So get that adhered, and then the Happy Mother's Day sentiment that I had die cut with the circle, that I'm going to pop into place with just some thin foam squares. So it gives it a little bit of dimension, but not a whole lot of bulk. So I'm going to adhere that into place. And like I said, it covers up the oops with the greenery, but honestly, unless you really stop and look at it, it's irrelevant. But like I always say, when you've got oops, you can just cover it with some bling or a strategically placed sentiment. Something like this, I honestly don't consider an oops. It's more like, if something smears, or, because weird things can happen when you're crafting, Don't ever toss it. More often than not, you can just work around it, work with it, or cover it up. As a final little bit of embellishment, I pulled out the Mini Hearts Party wafer die set. This is another one that just stays beside my die cut machine. I don't put it away. And I've talked about this in other videos. When I die cut with this, I put all the extra pieces back in the packaging for things exactly like this. So I didn't have to do any die cutting. I just pulled out some little hearts that I had die cut from gold glitter cardstock. So I pulled those out of the packaging and then just adhered those, like one to the sentiment and then a couple more to the background with, again, just some craft tacky glue. So I've got some little gold hearts going on. And then as a final bit of embellishment, I just grabbed some clear little gems from my stash, and I'm just going to add those as well. And these will be the most subtle. They're more obvious when I adhere them, but when the glue completely dries, the craft tacky glue dries clear. So it will be subtle, and I'll show that at the end because I let the glue dry before I take the photos and all that kind of stuff. So adhere those into place with those dabs of craft tacky glue. And then I'm going to pair this card with one of Simon's Dull Pink envelopes, because that goes with the cardstock and the tulips and just finishes it all off. So I'm going to turn the flashlight on my phone so you guys can actually see that sparkle, because it's there. and it's fabulous. So I've got, metallic and sparkle and glitter and splatter and all the fun things. So, like I said, at the end of the video, I'll have links to the other videos I've done using this set, and I'll link to the playlist with all the videos I've posted so far using these TriBlend brush markers. And as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post, and I'll have a supply list, and I'll link to all the supplies I used, so you can check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, for commenting. It very much helps with the algorithms and the robot overlords, and I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye!